Welcome to the Bonner Breakdown. The Bonner Breakdown is for conversation, connection, and to find things to celebrate. So get your cup, your mug, whatever you've got, get it ready for the good report. In today's episode, we have Robert Rosendary, who's joining us from the Northwest, lives in Pullman, Washington. You get to hear his story and what brought him to Sandpoint to speak to City Council last week. We also have an opening segment from our host, Chris Bassett, so enjoy the conversation. Hey everyone, this is Chris. I want to just share personally a little bit about the Bonner Breakdown, why we're here, and what is happening right now with the Bonner Breakdown in regards to some of the interviews that we're doing. So the Bonner Breakdown was originally created for the sake of creating conversation, connection, and celebration. So with those three things, it means that sometimes conversations can be difficult. Sometimes conversations will have guests and topics and things that are very benign and a lot of fun, and then others that are a little more emotionally charged and difficult. With that, I want to make sure that in these divisive times that we're looking for the places to connect. We're looking for the places to celebrate. One of the realities currently for me is to give an opportunity for all sides to share without judgment, without somebody telling them they're right or wrong or trying to infer bad motive to their heart or to their mind, but to really give people the opportunity to have conversation. If I don't understand it, we're going to dig into it. And if I think the viewers might not understand, we'll try and talk it through. The reality is I need your feedback. I need your input, not in the sense of who's right and who's wrong. The only problems we've ever had with this show is people who inferred hate into other people's hearts. And to me, I just don't believe that that's the rhetoric and the mindset that we have to have here in North Idaho in order for us to move forward in a way where we can begin to really live peaceably together and find solutions to really big issues and problems that we have in our community and in our nation. So my hope is that you'll be able to listen, that you'll find that the conversation is enlightening, and then you'll also be able to connect with something. You know, there's always a viewpoint. There's always something that we might not have liked originally, but that we can connect with. So I highly recommend you take time to do that, as well as find ways to celebrate the good things that are happening in people's lives, even from the people you disagree with. You know, there's always something good to celebrate. So with that, enjoy the next few episodes from the Bonner Breakdown. This is Chris signing out, and I hope that you fully and take part in the conversation on social media. Of course, be respectful. Don't mind read. Don't tell people what they think or what they believe by their intention and motive. You don't know until they tell you, right? You don't know what's actually happening. So with that, I really hope that we get into a new phase of conversation in the season, and I hope you enjoy. Have a great day.
Seriously.
Well, awesome. Well, Robert, welcome to the Bonner Breakdown.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on here. We're recording, and this will be going up this week.
Awesome.
You know, it's fun. We've got a little bit of drama up here in North Idaho right now.
Yes, you do.
And you know, what's interesting is that in all of the drama, sometimes it's hard to find the good news. And so one of the things that we do with all of our shows is we start every show off with what we call the good report.
Yes.
I believe that a healthy media can show all the sides to everything, and not just the negative, fear-inducing media reports, but we need some good reports. I know fear actually drives the money in the media. So hey, this is a nonprofit podcast, so you know,
you were not banking on anything.
Nobody's paying us to do this. All right, so we can throw in some good reports.
All right.
You got anything for the good report?
Man, for the good report right now, I have an event coming up in the next 2 weeks in Pullman. I'm trying to build up my organization. It's called Lunch with Leos. Okay. And what we do is we're about to barbecue, tri-tip, and burgers and hot dogs for Pullman PD and Moscow PD.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
So
awesome.
that's our good news coming. We're super happy about it because they're really receptive. It took us a while to get our foot in the door, but they're super happy that we're going to come down and support and cook for them and whatnot. And they asked us why we want to do it, and we said we just want to do something good for the community.
Come on now. This seems to be like part of your MO, and we'll dig into it a little bit. We did a little research, so I would say that my good report is that truth usually wins. And with that, with all the craziness happening, the more that people are willing to speak the truth.
Yes.
And it's not. I'm not a big fan of subjective truths. I think there's some real truths. I think you have your experience and you have those types of things. But I think that the more and more communication happens, the more truth comes to light.
Yes.
So even in the tense and the awkward and the hardness of some of the conversations, the fact that the conversations are happening will bring truth to light.
Yes.
And so usually the first thing that gets cut off when people want to hide truth is they don't communicate.
Exactly.
Right? They hide stuff.
Yes.
So the more communication that happens, the more the truth comes to light. And I think our society is going to be all better for it. So I'm hoping that with all the chaos that's happening, truth comes forward. So as far as a good report, I am so grateful that the hard conversations are actually happening. Even though they're hard, and they're uncomfortable, but you know what? Those are good conversations to happen, and I think from all the different perspectives.
Yeah, people are going to grow from it. We're all going to get something from it.
Come on, that's right. So, and that's a good report. Sometimes it's hard to find it, but man, cheers
to the good report.
There we go. Awesome, man. It just tastes better doing it together.
Exactly.
You know? Awesome. So Robert, you live currently in Pullman. Give us your story, man. Where did you come from? What's your history? And let's just start there. Kind of where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from North Carolina. I grew up in North Carolina. My dad was a Marine.
Okay.
Backstory: my dad, I really didn't know him because my dad passed away in the Vietnam era.
Oh, wow.
He was in the Marine Corps. He deployed 2 times. He came home. He passed away at home.
Wow.
He was on a trip. Fishing trip. I was 6 months old.
Wow.
And really don't remember, like every memory I have of my father is more like a shadow or a dream. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
So I hang on to that. And so through that, I grew from that, from not having a dad. And my brother was my older brother and my dad,
Wow.
And he was
How much older?
I'm 46. He's 53.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're far, but we're close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him and my sister, they raised me. I was emancipated when I was 13.
Wow.
I got emancipated when I was 13. Just personal problems with my mom,
Sure.
And I wasn't really getting along with my stepdad. So military school. I came back from military school, lived with my brother, and went to high school. Played football, and got a scholarship. I gave my scholarship back because my dad died in the military, and it would have been wasted on me to take the scholarship because the VA, the Veterans Affairs, were paying for my school. So when I left to go to College of the Siskiyous, which is right down in Weed, California, I gave them back their scholarship, and I said, the Veterans Affairs is going to pay for my deal. And so I was playing football and got hurt and didn't really know
it's the story.
Yes, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I fell in love with food. I fell in love with food and music, and became a DJ and moved down to the Bay Area and started attending Sonoma State. Graduated in 1999. And I worked for Ackley, Agilent, and HP. They were all in the same house because they were trying to save us when the big crunch was going down for technology.
Yes, tech bubble burst.
You remember?
Yeah.
So I was there.
Okay.
And so when that happened, I was the last of the hundreds of thousands of people in the Bay Area.
Wow.
Fired. And I ended up going to work for Via, the magazine.
Okay, yeah.
And I was a bartender, and they put me on the cover because I was working for Equus, and that was my first taste of my name even being out in the world. I was one of the Bay Area's top 10 sought after bartenders, mixologists.
Yes, the mixologist. I see now. That's funny because I've DJ'd and done mixology.
Right on.
Back in the day, over in Spokane. Right? So it was like little karaoke joints.
I was like big super club, because that's what I wanted to do, imaging.
That's awesome.
And then, through all of that, I really liked working with the public, and everything I had done up until leaving college and going to working for Ockley, Agilent, and HP was very in the box because that's how I felt.
Okay.
It wasn't. I got to deal with my friends, the people that I worked with, but I really wanted to deal with the public, and so I started DJing and promoting for myself, and I was liking what I had done. I liked being out there and dealing with people, and so then, I did that for 20.
Did you ever produce any of your own music,
No,
or were you just mixing?
I never. I was beat juggling. Okay. I did that. I basically and vinyl. I was old school. You know what I mean? Cool. Straight techniques, MK2s. You know what I mean? DJ, Autophone, nightclubs. That's me. The big cases. Making $300 for long nights was my life. And then I was living that for days and moved out to, I started racing. I raced semi-professionally for Rockstar and RHM.
What did you race?
I raced 250, four-stroke. Okay. And I raced with my family. My younger brother, he got me into it. I was riding in the street, collapsed my lung twice. I died.
Oh, wow.
Two separate times. And this will lead us right into where we are today.
That's cool.
So I was racing. Before I started racing, I was just riding around in the streets, with my buddies. I'd, done a bunch of clinics, wheelies and whatnot. And I was riding with some friends in wine country who came out to see me. And I was turned behind like this, looking at my buddies like, yeah, super happy that they'd come out. And my buddy's like, turn around. And as soon as I turn around, there's a Dodge, or not a Dodge, it's a Toyota Tundra. And the only part I can remember is his tire, his wheel, and his face. Seared in my mind for all time. I was in a coma for they heli lifted me out of Corbell. I was everybody knows Corbell Winery. Yes, they peeled me right out of there. I died.
So intense.
I died on the takeoff. I still have a hole in my chest. I'll show you when we leave.
I'm good. No need.
But they lifted me out. I died when they lifted me out. I died in the hospital. And when I woke up, it was hours later, and the first thing I said to the nurse was, "I'm just happy to be here."
Come on.
I said, "I'm just happy to be here." And I still say that to this day. Yeah. So that changed me. And changed me when I woke up. I said I wanted to be better. Like I didn't want to ride motorcycles anymore. Well, I wanted to, but I wanted to be better, and I wanted to be better for my sons. Like I wanted my sons to look at me the way that I used to look at my brother. Like I wanted them to look on me with those same eyes.
Okay.
Very proud, very honorable, very my dad, you know what I mean? And so I cried, when I thought about that too, because the first thought was this is going to be really hard on my sons, if I don't survive something like this.
Because you went there, you've been there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
wow.
I was in the hospital for 98 days. I had to, I slept like this.
That's a long
because
time.
they tried to pump my lung up and it wouldn't stay completely. So it kept draining out in the middle of the night.
It's so crazy.
And so ipso facto, might be a little bit of emotion.
That's all
I was
good.
going into my surgery to have my surgery. Like I said, me and my mom were estranged, and my mom was hooked on drugs. It was the era of crack cocaine and that whole situation.
Yeah.
And she was a beautiful woman, worked in law enforcement, but she met somebody who was that life. And so she lived that life for so long that I don't remember, like my last memory of her before that was I was 18 years old, you know what I mean? And she was doing whatever she was doing, and I was going in my direction. But we had come back together because she was getting well. My sister was helping her. I loved that whole thing.
How many siblings do you have?
I have one older brother and one older sister, and then adopted siblings through marriage.
Oh, cool.
But we were talking because she'd called, and my sister had called me, and she's like, Mom's not doing okay. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, she's not, things are starting to shut down. She had cancer and she was starting to lose her sight. And so I'm in the hospital. Now I can kind of walk and sit up and everything, but we're talking and I'm talking to her and I'm telling her, I said, I'm going to come see you as soon as this is over. And I said, we're going to, get our surgery at the same time. She's laughing. I'm laughing. We're joking. The long and the short is I went in, and when I came out, she didn't. And they waited for 3 days to tell me. Because my sister wanted me to heal, and I had a Heimlich valve here, which was a box on my chest, and they waited for 3 days to tell me. And so when they told me, I had to go home. And I went home, and they didn't want to let me carry her because they were like, Robert, you'll pop something. I said, I don't care. I'm going to walk my mom to her final resting place.
Wow.
This is the last time I get to walk with her.
So crazy.
I walked her, and I got home and started getting patched up. And this is now 2016.
Okay.
Or no, end of 2015, 2016.
Uh-huh.
And I'm laughing with my brother at my house. We're just sitting on the back porch, and we're talking about, it's probably months and months and months, like, before Donald Trump even says anything. So I'm like, I want to do something. I don't want to make my mark on the world. I was like, but I want it to be like something very positive. And I said, while we're sitting there drinking Jameson, I said, I'm going to walk across the world, or America. And my brother's like, you're going to do what? I said, I'm going to walk across America. And so that happened. And I took up a challenge on social media and said, there was thousands of people. You're going to do what, Robert? You're going to do what? I'm going to walk across America. For what? For you, for unity. And like in the beginning, everybody was kind of like, no, you're not going to do it.
So, and this is in 2015?
2016. 2016.
Okay, so this is during the election.
Yes,
yeah.
So now Donald is like, I'm going to run or whatever. And so I was like, okay, that's, whatever he's doing. And I said to myself, we're going to build a following. We're going to try and build a little army. We're going to make this like a huge positivity train all the way across America. So when I started off, the walk was really just a metaphor.
Right.
It was,
right.
If anybody,
all right,
it was the walk itself was a metaphor. It was my jumping off point. It was to grab you and to pull you into the message.
That's good.
And so I got on I did a bunch of lives. I got healthy. I did lives every day. And then United States Marine Corps heard about what I was doing. They wanted a piece of the action.
Come on.
Army, they wanted a piece of action. I was like, come on in. You know what I mean? I was like, let's get it.
Yeah.
And then a team was formed. A team was built around me.
Wow.
And I had no idea. And it was just all this stuff just happening.
It's so slick.
So the team has been built. It's coming on to the time for me to leave. There was a kid, a good friend of my brother's, of one of my younger brothers who wanted to go. He wanted to change his life. He wanted to clean himself up.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was very much like, because I'm 46. He was like, my younger brother, I hang out with him. He's my friend. He's my family. We ride together. I'm good with him too, but it was just, this is more your friend than it is mine. So he wanted me to bring him to help him out. And I was like, in the beginning, I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then he was telling me a story about how he's trying to get him off of drugs and, whatever his deal was. And I said, all right, man, I'm down for that. I was like, I'm walking for unity. I would be a hypocrite to say, no, he can't go. That's hypocritical. So I was like, I know Connor too. And so I was like, yeah, man, totally. You can come. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So we raised, I think it was like $211,000. I donated. And I laugh every time I say it because people thought I ought to keep the money. I donated to it because I sat in VA hospitals. I sat in VFWs, firehouses, and with regular Americans, Democrats.
Right. Yeah.
I found Muslims, all of them. And so when we took off for the walk, like I said, the walk was really just a metaphor, and it was more of the message in pulling people together because it really started to take shape in Arizona. In Arizona was when...
So now you left from California.
We left from Indio, California.
Yes. And then you started making your way.
Yes.
About how long, how many days, how many weeks till you get to Arizona?
It took us about 7 days. 7 days, and we walked. It's funny because we left out of Indio, and we end up in the Coachella Valley. Like, we end up in the valley, and I'm telling Connor, I'm like, hey man, I went to the Coachella party over there, 3 years ago.
We're in Palm Springs.
I was like, it's right over there. And so we're walking, and we have these huge Garmins from the military because they're like, Robert, we're gonna dial you in. They gave us like satellite phone and all this cool stuff, and we were like, right on. So we're walking, and it's the dead of night, and Connor again is super young, and I got to tell this part of the story because it's super funny. We get off because we were on this Amtrak or leaving Sacramento to get to our like jumping point. And so I see the Denny's. I was like, let's go get a steak breakfast. So we go in and buy him a steak breakfast. He is literally poking at his food. And I was like, hey bud, you okay? And he's, yeah, it's all starting to set in that we're about to hit the trail and you're going to be gone for about 2 months now, bud. And so we walk out.
This is real life.
It's starting to set in.
He's poking his steak.
He's It's like, I'm like, you might want to eat that because it's probably going to be it for 7 days. You're going to be eating like meals ready to eat. And so he's like turning like pale, and we get outside and there's like this Motel 6 on my right. And he's like, oh man, so we just gonna go get this hotel? And I start laughing. I said, no. The hotel's over there. He's like, what? That's just lights. Yeah, that's where we're going. We're going. I said, do you see Garmin? Garmin says the reservation trail is right here. We're going there. So we get on the trail, and it was like being in Boy Scouts again for the first time and going camping. All the adrenaline just going, and you're like, oh my God, I'm just ready to be out here. But this is the true part of the story. I almost killed us. Legitimately. Like, I made 3 very horrible leadership decisions and was told specifically, Robert, don't do this. No matter what you do, keep going straight, go east. Do not turn yourself west and head to the 10 because you're going to make a mistake. And so I was told over and over not to do that. Don't drink anything from like the lower cactuses, drink from the bigger cactuses from off the ground. Keep my tent closed. I turned us to the west because we had run out of water. And so I wanted to be the hero at that particular moment and get us water. And I was like, well, if we get to the road, there's cars riding up and down the road. Well, yeah, that was not the case. I walked us this way, west, for 4 hours.
Wow.
It was like the cartoon. Like everybody's seen Looney Tunes and the Roadrunner. It's that. Like, you see it passing and you see it far out in the desert and you're like, man, that's got to be like 20 minutes. No, it's 5 hours. Like, and the road looks like it's right there. And we are walking, and in my mind, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to kill me and Connor right now. This is how we die. We ran out of water. 5th day in, we're dying. Like, we're dying. And I'm on the sat phone telling like all the Marines, like, dude, this is what I did. We're dying. And he's like, Ray's like, don't freak out. We got somebody coming. Just get to a point where we can reach you. And I'm like, oh God, this is bad. And so it's literally the 7th day. And this is the point where I'm like, we're dying. Like, and I can't even tell Connor. In my mind, I'm doing what my brother is telling me, the Marine. Don't say anything. Just walk him to death. Don't say anything. Just walk him to death. And when he drops, that's what it is. So I say nothing. We're walking. We get to this thing called Cactus City. I thought it was a city. No, it's a turnout with like a little water spigot. And I was like, well, at least we get water. But we didn't make it that far particular. We get to the turnout. I'm laying on both of our rucksacks. Our rucksacks are like this. They weigh about 60 to 66 pounds.
Sure,
no joke.
Yeah.
So I'm laying on both of them. And I said, the movies with Clint Eastwood and the horse dies over there? I said, and Clint's lips are all. I said, that's us. I said, just sit down and enjoy it. And Connor, because Connor had like enough mind, he saved us. He took both of our growlers, he pulled the lids off, and he walked out to the edge of the road like this. And he stopped 6 cars, and they gave us 12 bottles of water. And so we filled up our growlers, and I said, we got to make it. And so we started walking.
Oh, wow.
We started walking. I look at the Garmin, and the Garmin says that we have a whole day and a half. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. And this guy, it's like God reached down out of heaven.
Yeah, cool.
And this guy pulls up, red Volvo, semi, beautiful. Hops down, Puerto Rican guy, beard. Hey, what's going on? He's got yo plays and grapes and what? So he's talking to us, and he's like, yeah, man, what's going on? We were like, man, we ran out of water. We're trying to get to Cactus City. He's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Telling, we're like joking. And he's like, look, man, you guys should hop in the truck. I'll take you down the road. And we're like, no, we can't, because we made a pact that we were going to walk and blah, blah, blah. We can only get so many support rides. And Manny says, you know what? He said, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, we've heard about your story. He said, every trucker that's passed you is talking about you guys. He said, we looked you up on Facebook and found your people. He said, I am your first support ride. And we looked at each other, started crying. Oh my God. We're hugging on the side of the road. Manny's like, sew that up, get in the truck, let's go. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, and I mean, literally, like, I hug Connor and I tell him the truth at that moment. Like, I tell him, I said, look, man, and I'm crying when I'm telling him. I was like, dude, I said, I didn't know how to tell you. I said, but I got to be real with you. I said, I have to be honest. I said, this is what was going on. And Connor, the man that he was, in those 7 days grew so quickly.
Come on. Yeah.
And was like, no, bro. He said, I knew. He said, I just wasn't saying anything to you either.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't want to pile it on to you. He said, because I could see.
You could see.
He said, I could see
you were wearing it.
Yeah. He said, for as cool as you were like, he said, I could tell you're freaking.
That's so funny. So now you get all the way to you end up having that experience in Arizona, but
Yes.
then you end up going all the way. Did you go through Texas?
I had to when we got to Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Okay.
I was invited to dinner and I brought it so you could see it too.
Cool.
I was given everywhere I went. I was given challenge coins, like
Okay,
the
cool.
best ones. So I was invited to Christmas dinner with the VFW there in Las Cruces, and Connor had a personal issue that sent him home, so I had to carry on by myself.
Wow.
Which at that particular point I was scared of because with all of the things going on, I know we're going to touch on that, but I was the very first person to run into BLM. I ran into them in Texas. They knew who I was. They were seeking me out because they thought 100% that I was this crazy, crazy patriot. And I said, no, I'm an American for all Americans. You've got your wires crossed when it comes to me. Yes, my family's military. Yes, I support military and law enforcement because of my upbringing. But I'm for good people. I'm for good human beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so let's move on with that. And so I was worried about that whole situation. But when I got there, it was so awesome. A gal who had followed me still follows me to this day. She invited me over. She's a Navy vet, combat Navy vet. The guy that she linked me up with, Eli, he was a combat Navy vet. And she said, I'm going to have somebody come over to your hotel and pick you up and take you to dinner. I said, okay. And so he picked me up and he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to take you out and have the best time. And so he did. He took me to this VFW hall in Las Cruces. And when I got there, I walked in, and my first impression of the place, anything historic, like, blows me away.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
blows me away.
Yeah.
So I walked in and I saw this big mural that said through the Great 399, New Mexicans. And so I'm walking, and like when you're in school, you remember how they had the ceilings that you could push them up, just like the little
Right,
sections.
Yeah.
So they had a roof like that.
Yeah.
In every section was a real picture of a fallen soldier throughout the entire building.
Wow.
And I'm talking the 399 plus the other 200. So there's pictures of men and women from every branch of service who came through Las Cruces. But the best part about this VFW was not only did they invite me in, their history and what they've done for years was unbelievable. And Eli knew a little bit of my story and knew that my great-great-gran was a Buffalo Soldier. What they do in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and everybody should Google this. They're called the Great 399 New Mexicans. And everybody look this up. This is great history right here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
These are the 399.
So cool.
These are the 399 Mexicans, like the Buffalo Soldiers, that gave up and fought for their freedom so they could stay in America and bring their families from Mexico. That's the 399. Now, the reason why they're even greater is because when they took me to what they watch over and what they clean and what they take care of, the Buffalo Soldiers gravesite.
Wow.
They took me to where my great-grand is buried. And I was blown away. I looked at Eli like, you've got to be kidding me. And he's like, bro, I heard your stories, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, and so I bought one of the Buffalo Soldiers hats because before I left Arizona, I did go to Tombstone. So I went over there and I had that hat on when I was in there.
Wow.
And I had to pull it off because I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I said complete and total honor.
That's amazing.
And they
That's super
cool. and all the way through, like, that's how the story evolved. Like, it just kept going and going and going. Grace Alley Flag Company, they found out who I was and they shipped over 374 flags. So everywhere I went, Shay was in each city waiting for me, and here's more flags. And I gave flags to whomever. If you came across, I hugged your neck and I gave you a flag. I don't care who you were. You know what I mean? Documented, come here. Come here. You know what I mean?
Come on, that's awesome.
Foreign exchange students.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to reach a lot of people and do something good, positively. And once Donald Trump called me and heard what I was doing and tweeted about me and then invited me to the inauguration, that was like the moment where I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I've made it.
That's pretty cool.
I've made it. And I got to shake his hand when I got to DC. Like, they were, he got ushered through. He told me, he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He held onto my hand. Huge man. He was like, I want to talk. He said, I want to talk to Robert for a second. And we talked for probably 3 or 4 minutes, cracked a couple of jokes. I pointed at him and said, we're going to hold you accountable. And he laughed. He said, I know you are. And then he was gone. And Obama was coming through, and I was looking at him, and he threw up his hand. Or I threw up my hand, and he went, pop, and then looked back at me and went, and I was like, pointed at the lady. She said, yeah, honey, I saw it. I was like, he just high-fived your boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obama just high-fived your boy. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Good to go. I can die now.
That's so cool.
And it went, I mean, and it was, you know, I wasn't like a massive fan of Obama, but like to be a part of that major history right then and there, that was awesome. And talking to him, you know, I got to, you know, speak to him for probably 3 minutes.
Wow.
And I tell people the same thing, Robert, you did whatever for Trump and, you know, blah, blah, blah about whatever for Obama. And I tell them they're both great men.
Yeah.
I've actually had an opportunity to stand in front of both of them and 3 minutes apiece. It wasn't anything grand, but just from his job is what you hate. That's why you hate him. You know what I mean? Trump the same way. You hate him because of his title. He's probably a great guy outside of that building.
And yeah, we could dig into that.
Yeah, exactly.
So now tell me about what happened when you got into North Carolina, because that report that you sent over was really moving about some of the things that you did there to honor your dad.
It was because I grew up there. So when I got to my hometown, it was a lot. It was super emotional for me.
I bet
it was big for me. All of my friends from high school knew, you know, college friends, my family, you know, whether they were for it or against it, you know, everybody was just, people really like came together. So I didn't know what to expect when I got there, because I got there in the dead of night. You know, when I rolled in, it was, you know, and I'd seen my town like that a million times. I was like, oh, you know, I'm just going to go over here. And so I go to the local hotel, and Middle Easterner kid that I went to school with, you know, I grew up with, he was actually working there that night, and I walked in. I was like, yeah, I'd like to get a hotel. He turned around and was like, oh, Robert. He's like, no, that's not going to happen. He's like, Samantha's already called. He's like, I got you a room and da-da-da-da. And what? Shows me all my stuff. I was like, man, Sawid, I love you, dude. I was like, I don't even know what to say to you. I was like,
that's so great.
I was like, Sawid. He's like, no, man. He's like, don't say anything. He's like, you're doing something for me and my family right now. Gave him a flag for him and his dad. I was like, there you go, bro. And so that was the time I said, I'm going to hang out in my town for 2 days. So when I grew up on Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base, my family name there is Pretty. And so when I got there, I got to sit with really, really great Marines. And they took me to Mumford Point. And Mumford Point, for everybody, another great piece of history. Mumford Point in North Carolina is where all the first black Marines came from.
Wow.
In the world.
Wow.
That is where they come from where I grew up. My grandfather was one. He's one of them that came out of Mumford Point. My dad spent a little bit of time there because he went to boot camp at Parris Island. But yeah, so I got to go to Mumford Point, and the picture that everybody sees of me touching the cannon with the flag, that's me honoring my dad and my grandfather. And I left that flag. That flag, they left it there. It still sits there. They pull it off when it rains, and when it's windy, they go out and they put it right back, and they said, we're going to leave it here. So on every monument on that base that I used to frequent, I left a flag on it.
That's amazing.
I put a flag on it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like something like 34 flags.
So what do you think was the fruit of that? Like, what came out of that that you lasted beyond your trip, you think?
Humility, a lot. Humility, like so humble. Like I was an adult, you know, obviously when I did it, but I'm not even going to sit here and lie. I've grown mentally, spiritually, emotionally through all of it. You know, I was kind of an asshole before
sure
I decided to turn and not, you know, I just wasn't, I would say not nice things. I just really didn't look before I leaped. And walking.
Hey, that's a legit point, because I think that's, I see so many people that just live that way now. Knee-jerk
responses. Yep. And I was the epitome of that, like horrible anger, horrible, like emotional, like trying to channel it, you know. I would get super high strung for no reason. And so the walking with Connor, because Connor was essentially like one of my little brothers, arguing with him and having to like learn somebody that's in their 20s, and I'm in my my late 30s, and I'm like, why am I telling you all this stuff? And I got to train you, and I already have sons. I don't want to do this with you. And so having to have to come down and get down to a real person. Like, don't be that asshole. Like, be the person. Be conducive to the growth, that's going to help him get to where he needs to go. You brought him so that he grows and that he changes. So help him change, Robert. Don't be that guy.
Yep. Yeah.
So I didn't want to leave him behind.
Yeah.
And that's, it helped me grow with, speaking with people and direction, and to be a better friend, be a better father, be a better person in my community. You know what I mean? And that means a lot to me. Like like I said, I can't say it enough. I was an asshole for a long time, and being this guy is good.
That's awesome. Tell me about your history with. You mentioned something about the Patriot movement.
Yes.
So tell me about that and kind of what that's looked like for you.
Sorry guys, I'm a former Patriot. I'm a former Patriot. One of the co-founders of the Patriots movement in America today. Okay. Myself, Joe Biggs. Okay. John Beavers, Bass Stickman, Kyle Chapman, Outlaw Morgan. We were literally at the front of it when it all began. John Beavers was the original Trump truck. He was the guy in the blue Trump truck, riding all over, giving away stickers. We met on the road. Outlaw was just kind of him and Joe Biggs. They were just doing their shows.
And Joe's got his show.
Outlaw's got his thing.
Yep. And for anybody who's not in the, let's just say that during the 2015-2016 election cycle, the birth of right media really took off.
Massively.
It was like, okay, you had Rush Limbaugh and you had some
Hannity.
Well, and you what we would call old guard conservative.
Yes.
But the new media on the right blew up.
Oh, it exploded. It definitely.
It was a whole.
It was like a nuclear bomb going off.
It was, because there was no in that course, there was nobody really voicing those opinions, and so they're like, and they came in with some fury.
Oh yeah.
Let's just say some intensity.
With a lot of heat.
A lot of heat on it. A lot of heat. And for people who are watching who maybe are on the left side of the aisle, they would have no idea who these people are.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Big. They were, and Joe Biggs and Outlaw were probably bigger than the rest of us at that particular point, because Joe Biggs and Outlaw were already skidding and kind of just fell into the Patriots thing.
Right. And because Joe Biggs had done a lot of work with InfoWars.
Yes, InfoWars. He worked with, I have their phone number, Owen and Alex. I know them still personally to this day. That was one of my first interviews was with Alex on the road, Skyping. But yeah, we were all kind of following each other and not interacting.
Okay.
And we knew that we were the first voices. Okay. And then me and John, we had kind of come together because we were on the West Coast together, and we knew John was like, well, Robert's down in Tahoe, Tahoe area, California side. And I was like, well, you're up in Bremerton, whatever. And so we decided to join forces while we were on the West Coast, and we did that for a long time. And I started to pull back from the Patriots movement in 2017, around the middle and the end of 2017. I had told people in the very beginning of my walk, I told media specifically, like ABC, NBC, no joke, not a lie. I told them, do not call me a black patriot. Do not call me a black Trump supporter. I said, I'm good with black American. You can do that. I said, but don't put those two tags on me. I said, because I might have voted for him. I said, but that's it. I said, I'm not here like he's the Pied Piper and he's going to lead us to the promised land. You know what I mean? No, like, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And so I said, don't put that title on me. My title in all of these blurbs say Robert Rosendary Walking for Unity. Do not rob me of that. Like, do not put me in a completely different box. Yeah. So I wanted to
Did they do that?
They did. They tried numerous times, and then I would call, like, after being interviewed, and I changed that. Like, you put my name there. Do not put black patriot. Do not put black Trump supporter. And I said, I really don't even like the black thing. I said, you can just say Robert Rosendary, American. And ABC in North Carolina and Virginia, when I got there, they were happy about it. They were, oh, Robert, we'll totally do that. But everybody else coming across, I feel it was like super, super duper right. And they really wanted to pound that home. So, and by my own fault, I let it happen. And fell into it, and like I said, started to pull back in end of 2017 because it didn't make me feel good. And I remember watching a live of myself, and I hated it. I hated seeing myself act out. I hated seeing myself all over the microphone. I hated seeing myself with that look on my face. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not angry. And this right here is what people are going to remember about you, and you flipping out like Martin Lawrence in his underwear in LA. And
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't want that.
It's so interesting because, one of the things that we're seeing happening like right now is that so many people are not, they're not able to maybe step back from the intensity of their emotion in the moment.
Yes.
And to look at things from maybe 30,000 feet.
Yes.
So it sounds like you just kind of scaled up a little bit, and then mirrors are really good feedback loops, man.
Yes.
Like when you see yourself and you go, I don't like that.
Yes. And it was a learning experience
cool
for me, man. Again, like I was saying how I grew, that was one way, was watching that. And and here's ipso facto. I was one of the biggest black faces on Facebook. I had like almost 700,000. And because I promoted unity, the reason why nobody can find my legacy anymore, Facebook took it in the dead of night. They said that there was pornography on the page. We had people sending them stuff. I had the screenshots of the page. And that's why you can only go to Google and see the Patriots Walk.
Wow.
Yeah, we rebuilt one. There is actually another link to a Patriots Walk. I'm actually attached to it because they want me to walk again this year, and I probably will.
That was the accusation for a lot of conservative people that were pretty loud, is that got shut off of social because of inappropriate content.
Yes.
Like that when it wasn't there.
Yep. And mine was, and that's what my big argument was. And when my page got taken, I actually went the distance. Like I did something no other public figure did because I lived in California. I went to Hacker Way. I went to Menlo Park to Facebook, and they wouldn't bring anybody down to return me my intellectual property. And so I wanted to leave. Like at that point, it was like, It was go time for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty angry at this point and don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, I'm thoroughly done with all of this. And I was really, it was more of an emotional and petty thing because I wanted to point, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I wanted to aim the bullet. And then thank God I lived off the grid and I lived on a compound. I sat on that compound with myself and was like, you need to channel this and you need to get right with yourself before you go out and just start attacking innocent people that didn't do anything to you. And most of these people supported.
Okay, so tell me, so you just brought up a couple terms. Let's talk about the compound.
Oh, the compound. The compound is awesome. It is, it's tucked off in the mountains, man. I love it. My best friend. It's his property. Okay. He lives there, and we put a travel trailer on there for me.
Okay,
and
cool.
I love.
You guys just call it the compound.
Yeah, we call it the compound because.
Okay, so we're not talking about like the militia.
Yeah, it's not Waco or anything. It's not. It's not Waco or anything.
Just got to clarify.
It's a nice house.
Because what's funny is that language is problematic today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because you say compound and people think, oh, how many guns?
Yeah, instantly. Yeah. How many houses do you have on there, and how many people are? And I don't, because a lot of my friends are very militia. They are very militia. I would say I'm pretty Second Amendment leaning because it's a protection thing for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like honestly, it comes down to protection. I didn't grow up in the inner city. I was lucky enough not to. That my parents were, the jobs that they had. So. For me, a gun, I look at it from a different avenue. Okay. You know what I mean? Like right now, for me personally, I don't feel the need to like grab a gun and go, walk around, in Berkeley or whatever to like prove my point. However, with that being said, if the opposition is there, then I feel like it's needed. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, I feel like intelligent, logical, armed citizens that are talking to people are probably a better deterrent, you know what I mean, versus just allowing that to walk around. You know what I mean? So I have a completely different outlook on that. And militias, some of them I feel like, and if you go back on my page like a year or two, you will hear me dice up a lot of them. You will hear me say the words F militias. Like I went to Texas and stood on the border with the original Texas militia when they called for help. I was only one of like 17 dudes in America who went down and stood with them and watched as, people were trying to jump into the Rio Grande and die with their kids. And it was crazy. And that they helped them. Like they were helping those people. And I'm like, I don't think people really grasp the situation of some militias aren't bad. And I think the ones that were on Facebook, like really, really loud, I think they were just there for donations, a lot of them,
Okay.
And money, and
Yeah.
because when the hard times came for America, and I'm talking like well before
Right.
George Floyd,
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah,
moment when I feel a lot of militias could have stepped up to help the Democratic Party in certain turbulent situations in certain cities. You know, like here and now, I feel like a lot of militias should have taken action and gone to Minneapolis and kind of helped out law enforcement as they were crumbling. I mean, I get that the situation was dire, and that probably
There was definitely, I saw lots of videos of lots of big dudes with big guns, garden stores.
Yeah, man.
And they were not playing around.
No, they were not. No, and like the ones that I liked were all the veterans. Like there was one that I saw with the big redneck. They were calling them rednecks, and that's what the dude, he called himself a redneck. And the black guys that were right there with him, they were all vets. And they were like, we served together. You probably know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I saw that.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, we all served together and blah, blah, blah. But media chopped half of that picture and took those black guys out to feed the agenda. And that really rubbed me the wrong way.
So let's get into this a little bit because, one of the reasons I saw you on Facebook walking in Pullman at night. Saying,
I see black people.
I see black people.
I see black people. Yes,
which I cracked up. So one of the things that I will say is that this area is obviously predominantly white. We have a long history of Aryan Nation, racism, things like that up here in this area, right? So we had a big, huge compound in Hayden during the 80s and 90s. I don't know if you were aware of that.
No.
Yeah, we still have an Aryan Nation church here in town. Okay, a lot of people aren't aware that even exists. We also had a group of people kind of flock in here a few years ago because we are so white, that they're like, oh, it's a safe haven for us with their white supremacist agenda.
Yes.
Okay, and it's done in the guise of religion. So one of the things that you need to know about me is I'm a pastor in town.
Awesome.
Okay, so I've pastored for 10 years, and I was the first one to find that this guy had moved to town and actually espouses a lot of the a theology of racism, right? Like there's actually like doctrinal reasons for how whites are the Adam's race and that the whole racial theory there and all of that. And he's written like 5 books. So a lot of people are unaware of that level of stuff that we deal with here. Okay. So there's this background, this backdrop. Obviously, some of the deep wounds in our area is the government's role in Ruby Ridge.
Yes.
And some of the things that have happened here over the years. And I will tell you that, like for the majority of the people that lived up here, they were all for individual rights and liberties.
Yes.
Okay. Like regardless of anybody's viewpoint, they have a right.
Yeah.
And just let that go, even if they're racist, whatever.
Yeah.
Just don't like, and I think that's a majority, has been very libertarian. Let's just say, if we could kind of define. Now what we have is we've got a conservative group that has become more and more libertarian here. And then we also have left-leaning individuals here that are becoming more and more militantly left.
Yes.
And so we now have a militant right and a militant left kind of button heads right now in our area up here. And I think you've seen some of that.
Yes, I have.
And so looking back for me, because I think like you said, like just loving history, it's really hard to discuss some of these topics about what's happening here without looking at the history.
Yes.
So what would North Idaho became known for being a racist place where racists live, racists go. Why? Because we had an Aryan Nation compound. Yep. Why? Because we've got, we still have a church. There's still other things happening around here that people can point to and say, look, there's racism here. There's bigotry here. Whoa. And we can literally see it.
And pinpoint
it. We can drive by the building.
Yeah, and pick it out. Yeah.
But it's bigger than an attitude, and it's bigger than, so... Yes. There is so for so many people who aren't racist who live here
right.
are like, we want as far away from that moniker as possible.
Yes.
We want to be as far away from anything having to do with race as possible.
Yes.
And that's the sentiment that I see, and that's what I saw in the pushback to the Black Lives Matter protests and things like that. It was like, okay, let's not. There's no need to even do any of it.
Exactly.
Up here.
Yeah, that was kind of. I know my videos.
I would now let me just say that is from one perspective.
Yes.
The other perspective is high empathy and high compassion, and sees people who are really hurting and are really struggling, and they feel that, and they're expressing that, and they're going, we should support that. So I think there's absolutely room for high compassion, empathy people to say, we need to support Black Lives Matter.
Definitely.
And there's the same thing as people saying, don't lump me in with any of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's just like an
overview.
I
think that was good though. Like I can agree with all of that because that's definitely spot on. Seriously. My video, like it came off really, really gruff. And that was kind of not my intention. It just once again, the emotions got away with me. But
hey man, you're having cops drive by. It's 3 a.m. You're walking home from work and going, you're not worried about it.
I mean, and that was the thing I wanted to prove to people. This is what I really wanted to say. Me being the man that I am, I've grown up in a predominantly super racist town, and I can literally take you back to North Carolina where me and you are going to get pointed at. We can go into a diner, and I'll literally still have to keep walking to the back because there will be problems in there. You know, and I think about those things and the eradication, and getting away.
Okay, this is good.
Getting away from it. And I think when I was coming with that video, I really just wanted to say exactly what you said. You can be compassionate. You can have all the compassion. You can sympathize. Just do not jump in bed like that. Like, I think I took it a little too to heart because I had already been on somebody else's page literally doing that same thing, and I felt like people were talking for me. And I didn't want it to be people talking for me. And then the flip side of that coin was I didn't want it to be now we care because that happened. Yeah. I needed you to care the entire time.
Right. Okay.
That was my.
So let's talk about the George Floyd killing and kind of the impact from your perspective. Yeah. What? So I'm watching this whole thing start to blow up, and I see the video.
Yeah.
It was repulsive.
I watched it once I couldn't. I cried, and I can't see it anymore. It's too much. It's too much. And I have to guard my heart. Right. Exactly.
Because that kind of stuff can flip a switch inside of a person to go from having empathy to anger, and quickly. Rage and that kind of thing. So I've totally, I had a phone call with a couple of my friends, African-American, Puerto Rican, and a couple other people. And we're on this phone call and we're chatting about life. And my black friend's like, dude, are we not going to talk about George Floyd right now?
Like it's
like how do we not have this conversation?
Yeah, it's definitely the elephant in the room.
Because for me, I see it and I see like riots starting to spring up, and then we're on our friends are on the call, and it's like for me where I sit here, North Idaho, 96% white. All I get is the blurb on social. Yeah. And then if I'm dumb enough to watch the news.
Exactly. Oh God.
Like if I not dumb enough, I shouldn't have said that. But if I watch the news, I'm only gonna get what they want me to see.
Yeah, they're filtering what they want you to get.
So I know that so there's this challenge of, okay, what am I hearing? What's real? What's not real? What's going on? I question everything. And so I'm sitting there. I did not see what came after the George Floyd killing with the riots across the nation.
Yes.
Now the first night of riot in Minneapolis is when I think the next night there was sparks in several major cities.
Yes.
And I was like, and I told my friends, I'm like, y'all seeing this? Like it's going down.
Yeah. It's
like something just
everywhere.
It was like the spark that just went wildfire across the nation. So, didn't mean to take up all that. But tell me your perspective on that.
Man, Floyd, when I'd heard it and I hadn't seen it yet. And then I made a beeline to social media to find it. Mm-hmm. And then when I found it, I found like the news clip. And too many different emotions because I say it over and over and over again. I can't say it enough. I'm a guy from the South, and I'm engineered a completely different way. Like I'm wired completely different from most black people on this side of the planet.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Different.
I hear the N word, it does something completely different to me. Like I know it does to them out here. It's like 400-year-old blood in me comes to life. You know what I mean? And seeing stuff like that definitely does that for me. You know what I mean? And seeing him in that manner, in that light, in that way was painful. It was painful as a black man to watch because of all the elements going on around. And I know what I've done for this country and what I wouldn't do for it. You know what I mean? And to see people standing around with phones while he's dying, you should have gone to jail. In my eyes, both of those ladies and the guy, you guys should have gone to jail that day. You guys should have tackled him. Floyd would still be here. He would still be here. Like there's so many elements to that story where that man could still be alive today that you all stood around doing what I'm sure you've posted on Facebook saying, oh, these people are stupid. You were one of those people.
Wow.
You were one of those people. You stood there and watched a life get taken. I've walked across America. I've been to some of the dirtiest places that most people wouldn't even want to go. I would have jumped on that man's neck without even a thought in my mind about it. Like, get off of him. You got your knee in his neck. His throat is in the concrete. Get off him. Yeah, go ahead and cuff me up, bro. Whatever you want to do.
Yep.
But I'm not going to stand here and watch you do that. You know what I mean? You'll have two of us on the ground. And it don't matter. But with the rioting, devil's advocate, damn it.
So let's pause here real quick because there is the vitriol and the raw emotion that comes out of these moments.
Yes.
And if that doesn't move you, I don't think you're human.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I just,
Cover yourself up with dirt.
If you smile, you really got a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So, one of the things that I noticed immediately was that this was this now was being referenced as an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. That's the part I don't like.
So yeah, and I know that was something that you really took issue with. So tell me a little bit about that because that's what we're hearing. And I was talking with one of my friends and he's like, I said, well, what about the data that says this and says that, like from the Department of Justice? Like, okay, it doesn't add up. And they're like, well, the data's wrong. Because that was their take was like, well, I think the data's wrong because they don't want it to look as bad as it is.
Exactly. And I know in places, and I'll say like this, places like living in California, places like Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Francisco, Oakland, especially. I know that black men are equalized there hand over fist because, and I'm just going to say it like I said on ESPN's The Shootout with Michael Tipton. I didn't grow up. I didn't live in the projects, and with what happened to George Floyd, I saw this major. Where it ramped up was there.
Yep.
It ramped up right in the ghettos, in the trailer parks, in the low to middle class. That's who is in the street right now, and I take offense to all of it because I've grown up with law enforcement. Like my entire life. I'm 46 now. I've lived in towns where it's 99.9% white. And I'm literally like one of 5 black guys in the town. And nothing ever bad has happened. I hate the negative of everything right now. I hate how George Floyd died and everybody took an opportunity to not do the right thing. But we all took the opportunity to do the wrong thing.
Okay, so you just had a mouthful there. Okay, there's a lot there. So now we got this concept of people being upset, and you mentioned location.
Yes.
Right, and so I've got a really good friend who's a pastor in Vallejo, California, just outside of Oakland.
That's my hood. Right there, Roanoke Park. That's where. Yeah.
Yep. So and I've had the privilege of preaching in his church a couple times. Awesome. Love it. It's so fun. So now he's like, I'm a black pastor. I still get followed and pulled over.
Yeah, exactly.
For no reason.
And that, I guess I ran long on that. That's my point with Oakland. When you live in places like Oakland, LA, Tenderloin in San Francisco, Hunters Point in San Francisco, you're going to get profiled. Yeah. And it's not who you are because I have white friends who live in the TL still. I have Hispanic friends. I have Laotian friends who still live down there. They're all profiled because of where they live. A cop will watch them drive out of there in their Escalade, and they're on their way to Chevy to go to work. You know, downtown. Yeah. Because they pulled out, how much dope you got in your car, blah blah blah, and I see it on their pages all the time. And those,
so now this brings up, okay, so that is, to a lot of people, that's just wrong.
Yes. Oh, and it is. No, it's 100% wrong because it is profiling. That is profiling. You are definitely profiling them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where I say it's location. How they're saying it's every day. If you live in Oakland, LA, yeah, 100. You live in Sandpoint? No.
Yeah.
But it's it's like you said, you could drive me around and no, Robert, there, and there. I can peel them out. You know what I mean? But in Oakland, it's right in your face. New York, Brooklyn, Jamaica, Queens, it's right there. And the thing that I want to say to my brothers and sisters, if I could, leave the ghetto. We all went to college. We all went to high school. We all went to college. I'm middle to low class too.
Have you seen any of the I want to come back on these riots for a minute, and then we're gonna move into some other parts here. And how are you doing on time?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay,
no, we're good.
Great,
we're good.
Because we'll make this as long as we
want. We're good. I'm golden.
So I'm good with going Rogan.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, one of the things with that we found with that I'm seeing, and that is being reported, is that a lot of since 2015 when we had the cop shooting in Dallas. And in the course running up from 2012, 2010, we start to see this Black Lives Matter movement really start to ramp up with a very vocal voice, with very strong public support, I've watched probably 45 minutes of clips of the co-founders having conversations, and it's a little like eye-opening just to watch that. Recommend anybody who's curious about what's behind Black Lives Matter to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Definitely.
I'm just a really big fan of firsthand testimony of what people
knowledge.
Think. I hate mind readers. Stop reading minds. Just actually, go to the source,
the factual information.
So we're seeing that a lot of these riots and stuff really were super quiet. You would see, a killing or something happen, and you see some riots happen, and then it would die down.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any major city riots for 3 years.
None.
But in 2015, in 2016, there were.
Yeah. Oh, DC, I was there.
Right.
I was in DC.
Not the Freddie Gray one, but the other.
No, yeah. And the inauguration, they like BLM went hard. They went hard in DC, and that's what I said on Tipton's show, the shootout, literally last Thursday. I said everybody forgets, and Michael was like, "Nah, we were there with you. We remember." I said everybody forgets that BLM was burning down DC. I said you can go right back and see them burning all of DC because Trump had won. I was like that right there just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I feel like that organization was given the best map in the world. You're called Black Lives Matter. Why didn't you come together for your people and pull us together?
I mean, you cannot come up with a better brand.
Literally.
Ever.
Literally. Like, that was like, I said, that is genius. Now, snowball it into something positive. Wrap yourself in that Martin Luther King, that dream, and ride with that. I don't like this BLM by any means necessary type of mentality.
Well, and it's great because I'm going to be interviewing the local kind of spokesperson for for the BLM movement in a couple of days, which would be great. One of the things so I'm doing a lot of research on all this stuff, and one of the things one of my friends pointed out was that the one thing that the BLM movement did not grasp that Martin Luther King really held on to was this concept of forgiveness.
Yes.
And the concept of actually once we can move past some things, there has to be forgiveness in order to move forward.
Absolutely.
And it seems like there's more of a mantra of revenge than
that's
and so
100%. That's what it is. And I feel right what you're saying. It's like a get
And
back.
I'm not making it like I'm just listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, and you sound just like me in those situations, because I do feel, I know that it's revenge, and I've said it in my lives. I know I said it in my live the other day. I said I'm confused. I said, somebody make sense of this for me. Are we mad about George Floyd? Are we mad about police brutality? Are we mad about the mistreatment of Black Americans? I said, are we still angry about 200 years of tyranny or the reparations? I said, this is like gone to too many different places. Your mandate has changed more times than my youngest son has changed his underwear. Like, I don't know where you're going anymore. Next week it'll be something else. This all started with George Floyd. And you're right. This is all revenge, because it always Juneteenth. I'm sorry. I'm from the South. I've known this my entire life. That to me is hush money. That right there, recognizing something you should have already recognized, and you're doing it now in the wake of a riot and protest.
Well, and every year there's a proclamation from the president,
right,
stating that we're celebrating today as a proclamation for the emancipation of slaves. So it's not like there's a new, but it's a now national holiday. I'm fine with that growth and awareness.
Me too.
I don't have any problem with that. I think it's great.
We were celebrating it in like full blown, like in South Carolina, Aggie, North Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. They, like, since I was
Juneteenth is a big deal.
Since I was 12, 13, I can remember the Black women dressed up like Mammy from Gone with the Wind. You know what I mean? And white women dressed up like what's her face from Gone with the And you walk around and they tell you your history. We were not offended by that back then. Like, I would go home and watch that with all my friends right now, walk around eating turkey legs and, yeah, son, look at this. Check this out. And it's knowledge, and it breaks my heart.
I was blown away. I was blown away that the protesters in San Francisco took down Ulysses S. Grant's monument. I'm like, he's the guy who won the Civil War
for you.
I was surprised. Okay, so but things seem to be like it's almost like on principle. Yes, obviously, Black Lives Matter, which and on principle, the concept that there's been long-term injustices to the Black community, yeah,
definitely.
I don't think you can. I hear people trying to sidestep around that. I'm like, no. Actually, I don't know if you can.
No, I wouldn't. I couldn't.
And I don't think that. Okay, so we're a generation out of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
A generation.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so it's been 60 years, essentially.
Easy, yeah.
55.
Yeah.
So
we're them now.
Right? And so the Gen X is the first generation that's born outside after the civil rights era. Yep. So, one of the things that's so interesting to me around this is that for people who are born outside of that, like our generation, we're sitting here and we're like, we were told that we shouldn't see color.
Yes.
We're told that the way that we deal with this is to make the playing field level.
Yes.
Right?
That's what we were told.
Which was the purpose of the Civil Rights Acts. Right? Was to remove all the Jim Crow laws, which just furthered the 13th Amendment's issue with slavery.
Yes, it did.
So when Kanye said, "Hey, y'all still being slaves," I don't know if anybody remembers that.
I do.
But yeah,
no, I totally remember that.
Last year,
yeah,
when he's like 13th Amendment, you guys are still slaves.
Exactly.
And abolish the 13th Amendment. And people are like, "What are you talking about?" He's talking about the provision around slavery.
Yes.
And prison.
Yes.
Right.
And people, and I've posted that with the slave in chains like this and the 13th Amendment, and people, oh, that's cool. It's not meant to be a cool blurb. I'm trying to like open your eyes to something.
Yeah, wake up. Yeah, so the reality that the only provision for slavery is prison.
Yeah. And I mean,
I think we might be dropping some red pills on people
right now. Like I believe that's going on.
A lot of people don't have a clue about that.
I don't think anybody grasps the 13th Amendment and jailing like the prison system here in America. Every other prison system in the world doesn't make money. We make money off of our prisons.
So it was interesting. Netflix documentary 13th. Have you watched that?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the Netflix documentary, and they have a very anti-conservative bent. Like it's all good historical, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like
sideways.
Go sideways.
It's sideways.
Like, wait, what? But the fact that it wasn't until 1965 that there was a level playing field, and culturally, in some places, for sure. That's never really caught up.
Yeah, no,
The playing field never really has been leveled. Would you agree with that?
I 100% agree with that.
Because and this is one of the issues that I have with some of our conservatarian, conservative libertarian mix people,
Yes.
The conservatarians. Is that they're like, well, we've done everything. There's no more racism. There's no more systemic because of that. And yet, again, like you said, it's location.
Yes.
And there's different places where culturally there's tremendous racism culturally.
Oh yeah.
And
well, like you said with the 80s here, if I would have come here in the 80s back in the 80s, it would have been a harder time for me, and racism would have been very prevalent for people of color here.
Let's just be real honest.
Okay.
Probably in the 90s,
whoa,
you would have had a rough time.
And that's still like not that far back, 20 years, legitimately.
Like, and that's from the old timers who live here. They'll tell you that. So now, so have we seen radical change up here? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so glad that we've turned a little more libertarian than just because it's kind of like that classic liberal mindset of live and let live.
Yes.
Let everybody do their thing. We don't care about race. And let me tell you, one of my good friends, who's a long timer up here, she said, with Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights era, most of America that was white woke up.
Oh, yeah.
They woke up and they go, this is unacceptable. Yeah, you're right. Those the first biases that I have.
Yeah, the first Million Man March, it wasn't, if you saw Get on the Bus, the movie Get on the Bus back in the day, they talked about it and they showed all the pictures. I had to show my son just recently because he lives in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
My oldest son, he moved from California there. Yeah. And I was telling him, I said, you see these pictures? I said, what's the one thing you notice in D.C.? And I said, what's the one thing you notice here? When he's taken off. And he's like, it's a lot of people. I said, but what kind of people? And he said, it's black and white people. I said, exactly.
Yep.
I said, when Martin left, Martin said all men, Jew and Gentile, didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I said, when he got to D.C., I said, you look in that crowd. I said, it's a mix of black and white. I said, yes, it was probably more black folks. Yeah. But I said, there were white people there, and you're absolutely right. Yep. That was the period where white people were truly woke. Like
I would agree.
100%. They were truly woke. He woke a lot of Americans at that particular time.
And I think that one of the things from conservative perspective that the way that I kind of view some of these differences that we're seeing politically right now is that conservatives are really focused on respect for law and respect for people.
Yes, they are.
Now, unfortunately, how we do that on Facebook is awful.
Oh man, we don't
do social media well.
No.
Now, on the other side, I as a pastor, I'm always thinking, what's the redeemable aspect of whatever the group is?
Yeah.
Like, what's the thing that man, if that was operating at full tilt and was amazing, that our world would be so much better for it.
Yes.
And I think like if the world operated on a high level of respect, it would change everything.
Definitely.
It would change everything.
100%.
And also understanding and empathy that you have and compassion that drives so much of the politics on the left. If that were full tilt, it would be amazing for our country.
Yes, it would.
Because I think there would be such an empowerment if we could mix respect and empathy, and it would be one of the best things ever. And if we could ever come up with a third party that was focused on respect and empathy,
that would be beautiful.
Right. It would be amazing. And I think a lot of people would say on all sides, yeah, that's me. Like they would raise their hand and go, that's totally me. That's who I am. And yet we tend to vilify anybody we don't agree with. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't agree with your view on that. Therefore, you're evil, you're horrible, you're bad. And this is why social media is awful.
Yes, 100%.
We have really bad mind reading.
And I played into that.
We put everybody's intentions on blast.
Oh, God. And I've been that guy. I've definitely been that guy. That's why I've stayed away from social media as far as like doing lives and things like that. I just put up a post the other day that said something to the effect of what you just said right there. I said, I'm not going to put up trash on my page, meaning I'm not going to post a bunch of people's names and blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm just going to take the hits and move on from there like that. Yeah. And we do need a lot more empathy and a lot more respect. And I know with my side, we definitely scream respect for Leos. We definitely scream respect for veterans. For me, again, it's a different ball game. I want the respect for them because of where I grew up, of where I lived. I've been overseas, Okinawa. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know I live the life of every Marine. I don't see color, honestly. I grew up on a base where all of our dads were deployed at the same time, so you could run 12 blocks and everybody's name first. Robert, your mom's okay, thank you, and you're running 30 minutes down the road. Mm-hmm. So that's how I lived. That's why I get after racism so hard. Mm-hmm. I remember the first white girl I ever dated. My mom, I was worried about it. You know what I mean? My mom was like, I'm gonna love whoever you love, and then she went off and dated a white guy. What?
Hey, wait.
You know what I mean? Hold on. And
was she racist though?
My mother, no. My mother was.
So can we just? What do you see happening with any time something? I just see this racist charge coming out so much. Now I'll tell you. I've been called a racist just a handful of times in my life. Because number one, a lot of people don't know this about me. I keep my politics to myself, but except on Twitter. That's Twitter. That's true. I think been trolled on Twitter quite a bit and called racist because I said, actually, you should just read what the president actually said, not just what the reporting is.
Exactly.
And they're like, well, you're racist because you believe the president said, whatever.
And you just said, I didn't believe. I'm just saying, read what he said.
Yes. And so people, DM me, I'm racist or try to.
It's horrible. And you're a pastor. That's disgusting.
Well, that stuff happens, right? And the only other time was when in college playing basketball. Oh my God. With a bunch of my black friends.
Of course it happens. Yeah. Well,
but I beat this one kid really badly. Like really badly, and at the end of the game, he was so mad and he yelled and called me a racist, and of course my black friends were like, "You need to shut up," and But it was such a charged accusation. It took me like a day and a half to come down from that.
Because you're not, and it affected.
It was rough.
Yeah,
it was rough. And I'm 19, 20 years old, and I was really impacted by that. It really shifted me. Now, being a black man in America,
yes.
What are you seeing? Because you tend to so you've been in the South. You see racism down there.
Yes.
Culturally, very different.
Oh,
and I like
polar opposite.
My daughter graduated from Waycross High School in Georgia. Right?
Yes,
Waycross,
I know what you're talking.
About an hour from Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
So southern Georgia. Deep South.
Way deep.
It was the last high school in America to be integrated.
Yes,
right?
It was.
In 1996.
1996. Man, I was out of high school for 3 years already.
Yeah, so that was the last high school in America to get integrated. I mean, nobody wanted it, right?
No.
Not the blacks, not the whites, nobody.
Not there.
Down there.
Yeah, not down there because they're still, Georgia is still that way. Like it's still there.
Culturally, it's miles apart.
Oh, yeah.
Between the African American community and the white community is miles apart.
Oh, they, after going there and seeing my son and his mom, Black Americans are super racist. I can't deny that right now. Like I know that's a really, really, really big thing to say, but it's true when I look at, because you asked me what I see. When I look around in America, I see my people the most angry. They are my brothers and sisters are definitely angry. They are pissed off.
Yep.
And they want heads on spits. They want it. They want justice now. Mm-hmm. They're not willing to sit around and wait anymore. And for someone like me, that's hurtful. It's painful. Okay. It's sad to watch.
Do you feel like it's justified?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it because I've lived this life. I can't peel this off. You know what I mean? This is me. Yeah. And I feel their pain.
Yeah, so the anger was probably justified, you feel.
And when I see it, it makes me mad because I've studied Martin Luther King, extensively. Mm-hmm. I've gone to Georgia. I went, on the museum tours. I went to, the Library of Congress where he's got writings, and I leaned on that. And when I see it, I think about that. And it makes me sad because it takes me back to, I wasn't old enough and I wasn't even born, but it runs my mind right back to the Watts riots. And I educated somebody about the Watts riots and why they burned all those things. I said it wasn't that the black community in Crenshaw and South Central were upset. They said, after they had killed those black men on that sidewalk, we are going to burn down every white establishment on this block. And they did. They didn't burn their stuff. They burned their stuff is what happened.
Wow.
And people don't know that bit about that. And so when I see these burnings, I'm like, please don't let this be in your community.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't let this be in your community. You know, if you really and truly believe in what you're doing and the revenge of it all, go to DC. Take it to the people that you're mad at.
Yeah, one of my friends was in the middle of the riots in his town, and he's a pastor over there, and he's like trying to pull people off the ledge.
Yes.
You know, like, hey man, there's a better way.
Exactly.
And he gets a phone call 3 a.m, and he's like, man, why aren't you in politics then? Like, okay, right. you want to know what to do with your anger? Go get into politics. Go change something.
Exactly. If you want, man, 100 right there. Yes. So, that's why I do what I do.
one of my friends, who's black, just says, man, I'm just tired. You know,
he sounds like me. I say that every day.
I'm just tired of being black in America.
I said, man, I swear to God, tell him amen. I swear to God on my skin. I said it just last night. I said, I don't want this skin. I said, God sees into my heart and he knows exactly what I mean. Yeah. I said, he knows, he sees right into my soul and he knows exactly what my heart's saying. So, I don't want this skin. If I could peel it off, I would and just run naked, like with just tendons. Because this right here is horrid. Like,
so what's your issue with the Black Lives Matter movement? Now listen, we just went through and just clarify. Listen, we feel like it's justified. The anger is justified. Yeah. The fact that there is cultural, what I would say culturally systemic issues. There's culturally systemic issues with police forces in certain cities and certain areas.
I agree with that. Okay. Inner cities, definitely. Okay, I named off, definitely.
Yeah. So then I think that we can look at this situation with George Floyd and all the anger, and we can go, man, we can understand it.
Yeah.
And if you can't understand why these people are angry and upset. And I think that a lot of people, well-meaning people, really want to help.
Yes,
they really want to help.
It took me a couple of days to figure to let that like wash over my brain like water. That people just want to help, not people are trying to use or capitalize or this is an opportunity. Right. With the BLM, I'm gonna apologize to whomever whenever I get a chance. I want them to know that it wasn't an attack like that. Like, you don't have the right to. I'm a Black life, and when I hear some of the stories and I saw some of the stuff playing out on social media, and I'd been here riding my dirt bike, it was hard for me, but you opened my eyes to certain situations that I didn't know about here. So thank you for that. But my issue with Black Lives Matter is they were supposed to be something beautiful for the community. And to me, I feel like Black Lives Matter is just the Black Panthers with a facelift. Because Black Panthers can't move through America. They're a terrorist group. They killed innocent white Americans back in the 60s, 40s, and 50s. I feel like they just showed up on the steps of DC and government didn't do anything. I feel like this was their way of sliding back in. And it's that Malcolm X militant by any means necessary. So when I see all this acting out going on, I don't want that for my people. Like, okay. I just don't want that for them.
Okay, so this is so interesting, and I really love it because I was mentioning to one of my black friends that I was going to interview you, and I said, he's anti-Black Lives Matter, and it's about a face like about spun out because he's what?
Oh,
how is that possible?
Oh yeah.
And what's interesting to me is that I think that marketing has been mastered when it comes to political movements.
Yes.
I think that the Make America Great Again slogan was probably the best political slogan of all time. Easily the best branded, the MAGA, just something we all like that. Behind. Everybody,
yes.
And it was a universal thing that I think, just from a branding perspective, is like, of course, what's his expertise, right? Trump's expertise, brand, killed it.
Yeah.
And regardless of where things he says, does tweets, like brand wise, that was great. But the Black Lives Matter as a name is like it engenders support, because if you don't support that name's movement, the accusation is then that Black lives don't matter then.
Exactly. And
right?
that's the
It's
first thing
just
that pops up.
It's just that it's like, are you going to say uncle?
Right.
Like,
and that's how I feel.
You know, and I kind of got that sense.
Yeah, that's
even in your statement.
I just lost. I see, and we just became friends. My cousin was on my page, Coltrane. You can go back on there. I just lost my last family member he was the last one that I physically talked to, because they're upset that I'm not out in the streets with a pitchfork and ready to kill. And my cousin's on my page saying, "Kill Whitey, support BLM." And this is why I flipped out, because
Wow.
I see that. And then there's people like him that are super crazy about it. And these kids, they want to help. And I completely see that now. You know what I mean? In the beginning, I didn't, because it was an attack mode. Like, you're using Black Lives Matter, and I just don't even like that. Like, that's just not even a good thing. But the anger stems from that, because I've seen my Black family and my Black friends play that out. That's the other side of the BLM that nobody really keys into, is when you see all the videos of people wearing BLM shirts. Kill Whitey, kill them all. Why would you want to be a part of that? Why would you want to support that brand? Trump breaks away from brands when it doesn't benefit him.
Yeah.
I broke away from it because I don't see it beneficial to my people. I see it tearing my people down. It's not conducive to the growth of Black people in this country. It tears them down. It gives more of a stereotypical look, because society, some of these conservatives will look at them and instantly be racist.
How about anybody watch Fox News? Okay, so like just even the the rhetoric surrounding that movement is not positive.
And it needs to be.
It's not a lot of positive rhetoric, and the people who are empathetic and compassionate and want to help out, like I think one famous conservative voice said, like, people need to understand, like, one of the number one things that that white Americans want to do is help.
Yes.
Like, the number one thing, like, they
Yes.
they want to be able to, like, do you want resource? Do you need resources?
Yes.
Do you want education? Like, there's all these things, and some people really got on him for being really racist for saying that.
Yes.
But one of the realities is that, I mean, we see that in this community.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of people who want to stand and take a voice because of the empathy, and they care. They deeply love America, and they deeply love people.
They do.
And they want to be able to say, we support, and we will say Black Lives Matter, and we'll do that because we want people to know that the caricature of racist North Idaho isn't accurate.
Yes, it's not. There's not racism.
It's not accurate.
Here.
So
Yes.
we will jump on the Black Lives Matter train and go there. And I'm excited to have the spokesman on, because I think it'll be a substantive conversation.
What I would like with that situation, is for there to be, like, there's a BLM in California, in an area that I lived in for a little bit, staunch white, just like here, but the girl and the guy, they have open dialogue. The two, they're now in college, but they started off in high school, El Dorado Hills, and they talk to the community, like the guys, because we have guys like this on Placerville Mountain and all that. I would like to see them talk more versus what I saw on the solidarity page amongst nobody in this community should be arguing with these kids, and these kids shouldn't be arguing with the people in this community. These people work in the community, and they're just upset about their situation. I feel like you guys can all learn from each other. You know what I mean? It took me 4 days to figure all this out via my lives. You know what I mean? I'm human. I'm flawed. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm gonna react to certain situations. BLM, I don't think I would ever, unless they had like a positive, like, there was a positive intervention and they no longer wanted to just hurt everybody and reparations. I wish they were more.
The founders have said that they are trained and avowed Marxists.
Nice.
I mean, they've come out and just said this is our goal.
This is who they are. I respect the honesty.
Yeah, they're totally honest about it.
I don't know if you know Hawk Newsom. You know Hawk?
I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
I do know him personally. We the mother of all rallies.
Yeah.
2017, I was there. I was the guy. We were the two faced off on the stage, me and him.
Oh, come on.
I'm the guy in the red T-shirt that says Patriots 1776, Robert Rosendary. It's me and Hawk standing face to face because I'm telling him get off the stage or we're gonna have problems. And then Metro DC walks up because we were hanging out with him all day, and the sergeant's like, Robert, let me talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, what is it? And he's like, you're gonna have to let Hawk on the stage. And we were like, why? He said this is an open forum, and that guy invited him on. We all looked at, I forget his name, but Hawk.
That was a great speech, man.
He, like, the reason, and CNN shows me step back down into the pit with Secret Service. Like, I walked right back off the stage. I said, okay, he's saying some real stuff. And I said, when I'm walking up, where are you going, Robert? I said, I can't agree with. I said, I can't argue with what he's saying right now. I said, he's talking science. So.
Well, and he was talking about patriotism. He's talking about some real.
And I had said, literally, and this is for the Bonner breakdown. Cool. This is for the Bonner breakdown. For real, I have said for years, there are Democratic patriots that want the same things. If we sat down, like my post the other day, I just made 3 millennial friends. I learned from them in 3 hours. We started off, I said, you know what? This is all playing out on Facebook. Young kid was BLM related, so I called him first on Facebook, something I never do. So I call him, and immediately I apologize, which is another thing I don't do. So I call him, and I apologize.
Said, oh, man, the growth.
Serious? I was like, man. And so I tell him, I'm like, and Michael Christopher II, you guys look him up. And so I tell him, I said, man, I'm really sorry about my interaction. And same thing I told you. I said, I react sometimes really badly. I said, let me tell you right now, you can't distinguish emotion through text.
Okay.
I said, I want you to know from me to you, I don't hate black people. I said, that's not what I'm doing here. And, I was telling him about Hawk Newsom. I said, do you know Hawk Newsom? I said, Hawk Newsom was one of the founders. He was the lead for a long time. I said, do you know what he does now? He's a Proud Boy. He turned Proud Boy. That's what happened to Hawk. He left BLM and is now APR. He's one of the PBs wearing the gold leaves, but his message and his mandate
never changed.
I told him, I sent him a message the other day. I said, I love you, brother. I said, I said, the tiger never changed its stripes. I said, you are still right there saying what you said back in 2017 on that stage.
Yep.
And I was mad as fire at you for getting on that stage. I was so mad at you. But you turned the world around. And we walked behind that stage to the green. And I shook your hand. And you raised me up. And Hawk is probably somebody really, really helped me get to where I wanted to be. Him and Jens Drakeman, another pastor, Democrat. He's not a Democrat, but another Democratic pastor. My uncles are pastors in South Carolina.
Yeah, cool.
Talking to these men, and they get to see me act out. And it's wanting to be better, wanting to, and being here in Sandpoint isn't. I don't want to be a thorn. I don't want to be. You know what I mean?
Hey man, you know what? Let's just say like one drop of flavor gets the whole thing.
Thank you. You know what I mean?
Right? So
spin it around. All right. Thank you.
It's good. Part of the reality is I think that there is the number one problem that we have is news.
Yes. Well, you said you had a good term earlier. The verbiage you said they don't. Back in the 80s we had people overseas and they were giving you the news. These people, you said it, they report it. They're not bringing us, they're reporting.
Yeah.
And that's horrible. They're telling us what they want.
Yeah. We're only seeing what they want us to see. And I think, and the idea that news organizations don't have an agenda, if you believe that, I'm like, how can you believe that?
Yeah, that's not
right?
logical.
Like, there's a reason why Fox News is the number one rated cable news show, because it's the only one that has some conservative takes on it.
Exactly. And that's why all conservatives run over there.
All conservatives are in one place, but you've got 8, 9, 10 that are all geared towards the left.
Yes.
And so you go, okay, any organization that uses, we're fair and balanced. I'm like, hang on. That's not how it works.
That's not, no. If you're telling me that's not how it's going down.
If you're going to be commentary, tell me your commentary. That's,
yes.
I do appreciate, whether it's Tucker Carlson or whoever on Fox, or even Rachel Maddow, and Chris Hayes and Don Lemon can say, we're giving you our opinion.
And see, Don, like you just hit
Don tries to actually play a reporter. But
yes,
that's
he does.
A little harder.
He's horrible at doing that because he is the epitome of twisting and manipulating, and it's like I wish.
Well, is Sean Hannity.
Oh, dude, Sean used to be good. He lost me in 2016. Like he lost me way back then when all his crazy rants. Bill O'Reilly too as well. He lost me well before he was cheating or whatever. I was like, you guys were too wishy-washy. You were playing both sides of the fence when you were this way. You were hardcore this. Now we're, and that's why I left.
The only person online that I think is really, there's a couple of people that have just stuck by their principles, and I totally respect that, right?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson and Rachel Maddow.
Yeah, Tucker's, I do.
They've both stuck totally to their principles.
I still watch Tucker every night, like every chance I get. We put him on at work when I work at Planet Fitness. We put him on. I turn it up when everybody's gone. Because it's like he doesn't care. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't care. He wants you to know the truth, and he's going to bring you the truth.
Well, so let's talk about cancel culture.
Okay.
Because one of the realities right now is that the officer shooting in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, the Rashard Brooks.
Yes.
There's a big controversy around whether or not this police officer should have been charged with murder, based on Atlanta's police guide and law. It didn't look like he should be charged.
Yeah.
And you can tell, okay, you realize that the district attorney who's bringing the prosecutors bringing the charges. It's an election year. Might be trying to.
Okay.
So let's just okay. So we can see all that. But here's the interesting thing. So the officer is charged with murder, and his sister works at a mortgage company in Atlanta, and they had to fire her. They were getting so many complaints about him that his sister, because he's a racist white supremacist.
Yes.
So who killed this guy. And so even family members are starting to get canceled and lose their jobs, lose their livelihood in the current revenge culture.
Oh, definitely.
So it's like if you have a head out there, they're going to try and kind of come after it at some point. What's your take about kind of this, kind of go after and remove people from the public forum, from the public square? Kind of what's your take on what's happening?
It's not fair. It's really, I mean, to sound like a 12th grader or a 12-year-old, it's not fair. It's not fair.
That was a good answer. Like a 12.
It's not fair. It's because everybody's voice should be heard. You hear people day after day. My First Amendment rights, I was one for a long time. I was removed from Facebook. It's everybody deserves to have their say. The truth isn't pretty. It's not going to come to you in a pretty box with a bow and glitter and a unicorn. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt sometimes.
Wow.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hate that, but I wish that it wasn't going on. I wish that we had a better site. Social media wise, where we could all just, and it doesn't matter, everybody's allowed there and nobody's getting shut down. Yeah, the violent, vulgar, murderous type of thing, yes, let's deal with that. But if it's just people voicing opinions, let them have their say. Let them scream and yell, bark and howl at the moon. You did.
I think that bad ideas in the public forum is like bacteria under the sun.
Yes, 100%.
Bad ideas don't last.
No, not for long.
They don't.
At all.
That's why everybody is off by themselves in their quiet little corner with a handful of people that agree with them.
Exactly.
Because the bad ideas don't last in public.
Nope.
They don't.
They never do.
So yeah, I'm really hopeful that the laws get changed around social media as
they have that big
publishers and
they have that big deal going on right now with changing the laws, and I know Facebook has a class action suit against Zuckerberg right now for he did away with 10,000 conservative pages, and nobody like in the dead of night, and nobody even paid attention. Yeah. And we need to get away from social media, and we need to start going back to me and you, where I'm at the fence, we're having coffee, like, right? Hey man, who you voting for? We need to start talking to Tim across the fence.
Yep.
Like we used to. You need to go to church, and hey Paul, let's chop it up for a minute. We need to get back to pressing the flesh.
Yeah, that's
versus hi Tim. No, Tim, come outside, man, and meet me at the fence, bro. I got a beer for you.
It's good.
Like that's where we need to go with. We need to get back to leaning on each other and less on social media and less on technology. We need to pick up the good book and lean on that a little bit more and spout that off to people and not be afraid to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, so, you know, I feel just from a spiritual perspective that there's an awakening happening. I think that all of this stuff has caused people on the left and people on the right to go, okay, if what I'm believing right now is true about the world around me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't make sense. If people here believe that if people on the left here believe that every conservative is a white nationalist, which is kind of like there's some pretty vocal people who believe that here.
Oh, definitely.
That anybody who's conservative or Second Amendment or
is white
believes is white.
Is white, yeah.
And
that's not true.
Conservative is a white national. We'll pop into this. We'll pop into this. I just want to talk about the awakening, and I want to get your opinion on it because I think that you can only go so long with reality not matching what you're believing before you go, wait, something's different. Like, there's this concept of two movies on one screen.
Yes.
Right.
I know what you're talking. Yes.
Two people are watching the same movie from different angles and they're seeing exact opposite things, even though it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
And I think that people on the left are going to realize that actually the good nature and the good heart of conservatives to help and to create a respectful level playing field is really the goal in the heart.
Yes.
And people on the right are, instead of these, you know, crazy liberals who are trying to take over the world and hate everybody and vitriolic. Actually, you know what? They're really trying to protect the oppressed. Like,
and that's what they're doing. And that's what the left is doing.
That's exactly what they're trying to do.
That's what the left is doing.
So like, oh, maybe we can start to see things a little differently and start to see reality. So I think people are starting to wake up and go, oh, they're not all evil.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So what do you think, man? The awakening.
I 100 because I am a believer. I was recently baptized in December. This past December. Yeah, I just
congratulations.
I'm reborn.
Come on.
And it's a beautiful thing, and I shout it from the rafters.
So you know what? You know, one of the things that marks God at work in your heart is the fruit of the Spirit, right?
Yes.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Right?
Yes.
And against these things, there is no law.
No.
And so like the reality of being able to look, so you've said a couple things that have actually surprised me where you said, yeah, you know what? I was kind of heated and I went back and I apologize. That's not normal for me. Well, here you go.
Exactly.
Because someone else might be helping.
Seriously.
Right.
And I know, I smell what you're putting down.
Okay.
And yes, but the awakening, I believe it 100%. I don't believe it in the way of like my grandma before she passed away. You know, she was for sure. I mean, I'm not going to doubt her. She may be right. The heavens may crack open. He may come down. I could be wrong. She could be standing right next to him. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, Grandma. I love you. Rest in peace. I believe it. I definitely believe that this is an awakening because on a personal level, it's hitting me. And if you don't feel it, you need to go sit down and get right with yourself real quick. You need to step away from social media, get away from the TV. And this is the gospel right now. You need to get away from all of that, all of these things in the living world. And you need to go sit in the center of your bed and just get right with him for a second and feel what's around you. Because if you can't, like you said, it's the truth. If you don't feel something about, then you're not, I don't know what to tell you because I know that there's something going on and there's this massive awakening because I feel it here. I feel it here and it's warm and I like it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to let go of it. And my intensity comes from it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want everybody else to feel this, be this intense. It's good. It's not bad. And the awakening for me, the view that I get is it's going to be something good. Like it's going to wash away a lot of negativity and we're going to be left with like a lot of beautiful, positive things.
I think so.
To come from, you know?
I think so.
Really, like I honestly 100% believe that.
That's awesome. That's good. You know, I think some people who are knee deep in their anger have a hard time seeing that.
Oh yeah. You know, definitely. I was there and I can attest to that.
So
being blind.
Part of the awakening is forgiveness.
Yes.
And without that, there is no way to move forward. And, I'll just say from a spiritual perspective, there's a verse in the Bible that says mercy triumphs over judgment.
Okay.
That's how God operated with Jesus. Like, here, let's give you mercy because you deserve judgment. I'm going to give you mercy. And that's that's one of the key elements of what Martin Luther King said, in that we're not going to be violent because there has to be mercy, because mercy actually wins.
Yes.
Right at the end of the day.
Yep.
And so I just sense that there's going to be an awakening of mercy.
Yes.
And the ability for people that need to take ownership and need to apologize. I've had the privilege of overseeing, being part of the largest national African-American denomination, and being at a gathering where the top leadership of that organization was there with the top leadership of another large national organization that's predominantly white, and seeing a racial reconciliation service where there was taking a knee, in the sense of, like, we're going to get on our knees and ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
For centuries of mistreatment, because we want to provide you the platform to unlock everything through forgiveness.
Yes. That makes sense to me. Like, that makes more sense.
So
that legitimately makes more sense.
Let's unlock the capacity for there to be forgiveness, because anybody who thinks that you can rewrite the past with current or future actions is a fool.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Because you cannot rewrite the past. And even if you think you can pay for the past, you still can't.
No, you can't.
There's no way to pay for the past. No matter what calculation or number you try to get, you can't repay for it.
Mm-mm.
So at some point, there has to be the willingness to forgive.
Yes.
And so I think that it's incumbent upon... I went to Tallahassee, Florida, and got to preach at a friend of mine's church
Nice.
there. I've been there a couple times, and just sweet people, just love them. Predominantly white church.
Wow.
And,
Southern Baptist, yes?
No.
Oh, wow.
Church of God.
Okay.
Pentecostal.
There we go.
Come on, giddy up.
Exactly.
But they did a unity night once a month. And they would go from church to church, and it would be to bring the core African-American churches together with the white churches, and then the black pastor would preach and the white pastor would preach. And so I happened to be there.
Awesome.
And my pastor friend's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. We got this unity night Monday night. You want to preach it?" I'm like, and this was Sunday night. I'm like, you know what's funny is, like, I had this sermon.
He's like,
I wasn't sure, but now I know where I'm going to use that.
Exactly.
So we just talked about how to transform a city and how God can move in a city, and
that's so awesome.
And it was really cool. And so we did a racial reconciliation between these two churches, and
Nice.
and here's what happened: the black pastor and the white pastor stood back to back, and all the black people lined up in front of the white pastor, and all the white people lined up in front of the black pastor. Just we wanted to make I felt like there needed to be a significant action taken in that
Yes.
community to begin the process of forgiveness and healing.
Yes.
And there had been many taken over the years, but I felt like there was something on it, and so we went after it. And it takes great humility to ask forgiveness to people you don't even know for something you never did. It takes humility beyond
you
the average.
You definitely have to be humble beyond words.
Yes. And I asked every single white person to have that humility that day.
Nice.
And I asked every single black person to have the same humility to forgive for things that maybe had happened to them or hadn't happened to them.
Yeah.
Because we're going to break off the generational.
So they both.
They both were back to back, and
That's
the black
awesome.
people were coming up, and the pastor saying, "Will you please forgive me?" And then extending the forgiveness
Yes.
back, and the white people coming up saying, "Please forgive me," and extending the forgiveness back. So
Yes.
it covered everybody in the whole place. I had a family leave my church when they heard that.
God.
When
They
when
left?
They left the church because the misconception was that they thought I was apologizing for being white.
Yeah. There it is.
Not at all. Not at all. This issue's bigger. The issue's bigger.
Yeah, it's way bigger than that.
It's way bigger, and to think that it's not is very short-sighted.
Mm-hmm.
It had nothing to do with me
exactly
or anyone else in
Yeah.
that room. It was dealing with the attitude and the atmosphere of forgiveness.
Yes.
And trying to break that open. So I don't know. I felt like it was important to share that. But
No, that's awesome.
I think the awakening is happening. I think
It
things
is.
like that are happening. I think it's going to take tremendous humility from people who don't believe that there's a problem.
Yeah.
To just say, okay, maybe there's a problem in places that I don't understand and don't know about. And it's going to take tremendous humility for people to say, okay, maybe that person that I think is evil really isn't evil.
That's the first thing I said when you asked me what I learned.
That is.
And
that
that
stood
was
out. Humility.
that was definitely the first thing was humility. Be humble. Be humble in every position, and definitely forgive. Definitely.
Yep.
I learned those very quickly. And we were talking about Martin Luther King, and I forgot to even throw that out there.
Yeah, go for it, man.
When I got home to North Carolina, that was the day that I got home. I got to walk in the parade. Yeah, I got home. Go back and read the blurb. I got home on MLK. I got home on MLK Day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
literally landed in Jacksonville, woke up the next day. They were like, Robert, it's MLK, blah, blah, blah. Went to Mumford Point. Yeah. And
come on.
That made it all the better for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that made it all the better for me.
That's
and
so
I
cool.
said, I spoke about him, at length, and, him being, one of my biggest heroes. I felt like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
And
okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears. Switch gears. I don't know how many times I'm gonna get you back. So, all right, man, we're gonna dive in.
All right.
So tell me about the difference between a white supremacist and a white nationalist.
I coined the white supremacist to be very, very heavy about their culture, their skin, their people. I know them from the South. White nationalists I coined to be rich and very political, and you know what I mean? That's how I see a white nationalist. Like, it's a very rich person trying to stay rich. Like, that's their game. They're not, they're low key racist, but at like certain points.
Okay, wait. All right. Okay, so
like a white supremacist is probably more violent, and they're definitely about their skin and not mingling, and they hate any other person of color. White nationalist is like the rich guy, like like some of the left is like Donald Trump. That's a white nationalist, like if you were gonna have to coin or like tag one out, rich guy. That's him. You know what I mean? That's how I see a white nationalist. He's about America. He's a crazy, like super crazy constitutionalist. He's not like promoting the Constitution. He's just really crazy about it from 100 years ago. He's one of them. That's what I coin as a white nationalist. Like, they're writing the Constitution and the bad parts of the Constitution. Like, they're fighting with the opposition from a place of hate. You know what I mean? If you can understand that, they're not.
So
it's not about
change. So how do you separate
change.
a nationalist from a white nationalist?
That's a good question.
Because I think there's definitely some conservatives and people who are white and conservative, and they are all about like the Constitution.
Yes,
they're constitutionalists. They're going to be that, and they love the freedoms and all that stuff and
liberties.
And that will go toe to toe for the nation.
Yes.
And they believe very strongly in the America First agenda as nationalists. Like, as a nationalist, they really believe that
I could agree with
protect
that.
the nation.
Yes.
Let's focus on home.
I guess I'm a nationalist then. I might be. I don't know. Because I all of those things sound like me. That sounds like I can relate to those because I do love my country. I do. Yeah. I would do anything for it.
Okay.
I can't say that I would go the stretch of what we see today. If I had to, yes. If I had to, yes. If I don't have to, and I can do it from this angle, then let's do that.
Is the phrase white nationalist more of a slur or an accusation than it is maybe about race?
I think it's about race.
Okay.
Like I did, there's no, once you put a color on it, it becomes that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you start calling someone a white nationalist, it just goes like the race is tied, it's already tied in, and then it becomes, like I said, it becomes this whole other thing. You start to tie in other things like when, like you say, white nationalists, most black people, because I've sat in black conversations, most black people's definition of a white nationalist is someone who's rich. trying to stay rich. You know what I mean? That's how they, and he's about the Constitution and all those things. That's how they see it. But your
class, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. That's class, not really. No.
Let me give you my personal 2 cents. I think that a white nationalist believes that the country as a nation is better off predominantly white than integrated.
Okay. So that would have
been the nation, and it's not even a white supremacy thing. Because okay, let's just say like at Charlottesville, the white the white supremacists are saying the Jews are taking our jobs. I'm like, wait, no, you're obviously not better if you're losing your jobs.
Exactly.
So don't tell me you're a supremacist if that's the case.
Yeah.
That's the wrong.
Yeah.
That's the
exactly.
wrong.
That's not a reason to be a supremacist.
That doesn't fit. So I think that's if I could put the white nationalists, define it, it's more about people who believe that the country as a whole is better as a nation. White. Our nation is better predominantly white.
Okay, that makes sense.
Culturally, maybe, and economically or whatever.
Yeah.
I've never seen a person actually label themselves that except for maybe Richard Spencer.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody else say it either except for him. Yeah, true story. None of my friends class themselves as it. They don't say it. I
hear it as an accusation all the time, but I haven't actually met one.
Maybe it's more of a slur. I
don't know.
I want to say it's a negative. Now with that on it.
So now then you got guys like Gavin McInnes, the founder of the Proud Boys, who would not call himself a white nationalist, but that he's for Western civilization. And with that is tremendous. It's with that, it's almost like the racist overtones
seem
to be pretty high.
Oh, yeah. When you use that kind of verbiage, you look racist. Sorry.
So, Bill Maher has been in a bunch of heat lately because he talked about the fact that, Western culture and civilization, that's what we were built on.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me all the cultures are the same and they're all the same value?
Dude,
they're not.
Gonna get tore up for that.
And yet, I'm like, everybody's like, okay, Bill Maher, hyper liberal, you're pretty racist,
you're right?
Now.
Whoa, man.
So I think that this is something that I mentioned to my friends when I was on a call with them this last week. The kind of the mixed group is that if we can begin to remove accusation and start to believe people at their word, we might see a shift.
Yes.
Because the only time I hear about white nationalism is from people on the left accusing conservatives.
Mm-hmm. That's the one time. That's the only time you hear it.
I've never heard. The only self-proclaimed person is the one person everybody hates.
Spencer. And literally, he is the only person I've ever heard call himself that, and proudly, very happy about it. And I'm like,
now, I'm not saying that there are not people out there who are.
Yeah,
of course,
obviously
there are, and that's their deal, and it's sad, but it seems to me like the white supremacist says that the white race is. I think that moves into the religious territory.
Yes.
Of this is God's covenant chosen people.
Yes.
And that's kind of what some of the teaching that we deal with up here. So,
awesome.
unfortunately, but it's not mainstream.
Yeah.
It's not mainstream.
No, not at all. Not at all.
At all.
Not at all.
So what's your take on the issue with how do you see the issue of white nationalism and white supremacy impacting African Americans today in our culture?
A massive pushback. Definitely you talked about the Proud Boys and Gavin.
Which Hawks now a member of.
But I see the pushback as far as, I'm gonna steal a page out of your book. It's they don't want to, they see their communities, these white nationalists, they see their communities, especially in Georgia. I was there with my son, a couple months back. He was having MS surgery, and you can see it there very prevalently. They have all their signs out. They don't care. They want to keep this for this, and they want to hire this person for this because they believe that this person will keep this preserved for their way of life. And it's a big pushback back and forth. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Black Americans, they're over the reparations thing, but they're like, give me my piece of the rock. We all live here together, elbow to elbow. White nationalists, hiring, firing, whatever, housing,
Wow.
whatever
Yeah.
it comes down to. So I see it in that respect because my
Yeah.
sons are mixed. Obviously their moms are white, and we talk about it at length. You know what I mean? And my son's mom is, she'll definitely go that route of, oh, it's white nationalism doing this to us and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do you, but you're white. I don't understand. But she's right, in some aspect there. And I told her, I said, you're in the South and you're in the deep South. I said, I told you all about it before you left California. I said, that is exactly what it is. These people believe that particular part of Savannah will be white as long as they don't bring any more black folks into it, and they won't build another low income housing situation there for you guys. Like, that's not going to go on anymore. I said, you're still going to have to roll out. And I said, that's why this bit of Savannah looks like this and this bit of Savannah looks like this.
Absolutely.
So you may be right. It may be white nationalism over here, baby girl, because we literally drove right over here and there it is.
So when I was in Georgia, one of the conversations that I had was about this issue between the cultures, and it was really interesting because the sentiment was exasperation from the white people I was talking to, of like there's nothing else we can do.
You're right, exactly, but there is.
There is.
There totally is.
That sense of like how we don't know what else to do to help a culture that's not interested in some of the foundations of Western, so
Right.
like they just, it's a very different cultures,
because
different cultures.
The black community is not going to take to that. Like, they're just not.
You're right.
They're not going to do it. Like, no matter what they do, it would have to be, like I said, you're going to have to sit down, and it's going to have to be like an idea betwixt both.
So yeah, and I think, well, this is why Sundays are the most segregated day of the week, right?
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
Is it is, because there's some really massive issues about how we do life differently. How does a white man in the South make disciple of a without trying to convert the culture?
True.
And,
Yes.
and this is what the classic missionary problem. Same thing, black on white. Like, the culture. I think that the systemic issues that I see are cultural.
Yeah, I say cultural. Yeah, I say cultural.
Not
versus
100%. But.
Yeah, I say cultural. It's not. And I mean, it's ignorant to even say racism, because race is human. We're all the same person, or all the same people. You don't hate humans. You hate cultures. You're a culturalist. Culturalism.
There you go.
You know what I mean? You're not. It's not racism. You don't hate the human race. You hate other cultures.
Well, maybe you don't like multiculturalism.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah, there's so much value in it. It's so hard because there's so much value in multiculturalism.
And I used to say, I said 20 years from now, it's going to be, this whole planet's going to be full of kids like mine. Like it's just going to be a bunch of mulatto people running around, and
it's awesome.
I love it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to touch on one thing because I just looked at the time. I'm going to touch on one thing really quickly that I did want to. The one issue I do have with BLM.
I did just about.
The one issue I do have with BLM, and I wanted to touch on that when we were talking about it. I didn't want to go back. But in that organization, and I found this with my own son. And my son, I educated him at the same time that he educated me, 17. And so I saw him on his page going hard for the riots, like just getting it in. I'm like, okay, you're 17. I get it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I was 17, probably doing something completely different, but he's 17. And then I go into his post, and I'm looking at his posts, and he's just ranting from this place of, I'm a black man. So me being his dad, he's got 24 people in there. I let him know first off. I said, you know what I do, right? Like, I said, I do this like for a living, kind of, right? Like, so here we go, because now I'm on your page and I'm going to do it to you. I said, in what parallel universe do you live in that you deny your mother's white skin? You're not black. I said, you're black. Wow. I said, you're mixed. And I said, the fact that you called yourself solely black, I have a problem with that. And I said, that's the problem with all of you in here right now. And I said, I know 5 of you that are mixed. I said, you all are mixed. I said, none of you are black. And I said, who told you that? Who said you were? And I was telling my son this the other day, and I said, this is why I got upset with you about the whole BLM thing. I said, you see these mixed kids? I said, you see all those mixed kids out there with BLM? I said, do you know why they're there? Because it was, again, a cultural thing. Oh, white America's not going to accept you. So you deluded my son? You played with my child? And you made him believe that society, when my son's been on Disney Channel, and I know society's going to accept him and his little brother. They're gorgeous. I love them to death. I love their mothers. I find it very disrespectful. I find it very, very disrespectful, because that's not how it should be. So don't put yourself in a pigeonhole.
So let me ask this, and this is not accusatory of people in the Black Lives Matter movement or anything. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
me neither. I wouldn't say that either.
But I think that there's a mindset of like, we've talked a little bit about what I think some people have kind of coined revenge culture, but really there's real. We've already established. Listen, there's some real grievances here that need to be dealt with. There's some real upset.
Yes.
There's some real issues here that we can't ignore that. It seems like there's an effort, and you just kind of brought that, to make more people victims.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of
what you were kind of
that's
getting at there?
exactly where I was going with that.
About?
And that's exactly kind of at the end of me and his conversation. That's what I told him. I said, you are strong. I said, my blood's in you. You are strong. I said, your mother's blood is in you. You are strong. You're not. I said, you're nobody's puppet. And I said, don't ever let anybody tell you that. I said, you are all of these things. Do not disrespect your mother. I said, you love your mother, right? I said, you moved out of my house to go live with her because you love her. Yes. Yes. Then don't do that. Don't come on social media and play this tool bag game with your little old buddies. Oh, blah, blah. I said, none of you boys are down for that life. Like, be that compassionate kid that I remember. The one who used to laugh and sing songs and dance. Like, be that kid. Like, don't follow the status quo. Don't fall in line. Don't do that, son. Be like me. You know what I mean? But don't be like me. Be better. And I wanted him to not do that in the way he educated me on how he even got down to that. Well, that's just how they see me out here in Georgia, Dad, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, white people like this. And I'm like, what? Seriously? And then I have to tell him, well, that's why your dad left the South, because it was too narrow-minded, bro. Like, I couldn't live here anymore. Like, I was going to either fight every day or, I don't know, go in the military like my brother did. Like, I was either going to fight every day for this skin, or, you know what I mean? It was going to, I had to move.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, man, you've been with me a long time today.
Thank you so much.
I've appreciated so much the conversation. Any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with today?
Man, I want to leave you guys with the same thing I do on my podcast and my lives, man. Be good to each other. Be good human beings. Take care of each other. Take care of this country. Start talking to your neighbors. Don't argue anymore. Like, we need to build. I'm trying to build a bridge to unity, and I need everybody's help to do it. You know what I mean? So we all need each other. This is that time right now. You know what I mean? Seriously.
It's good. It's good. Well, you know, one of the joys that I have is having hard conversations with people, and it's a joy because you know, I always try to listen. Yes. You've you know, really, I think you've shared some things that a lot of people in our audience here might not have been exposed to, might not have heard before, especially coming from an outsider.
Yes.
Somebody who lives in the Northwest. You understand, Northwest culture is not very different between Pullman, Moscow, and Sandpoint. Yeah. You know, we're a little different up here in that we're a little more militant in our rights.
Yes. Northern Idaho.
Our independent spirit comes with a gun.
Exactly.
So,
yes, it does.
So it's a little different. You know, I think that your ability to just humbly share has been really a pleasure, and it's been just wonderful to get to meet you and get to know you a little bit. And who knows, maybe we'll collab on something down the road.
Yes, we will. I'm gonna have to bring you onto mine.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
You know what I mean? Seriously, an interview, because I said on mine we do my commercial. It says, you know, we were going to talk about, just like you said, all the hard things that make you turn in your seat. And one that I wanted to do, and I'd probably bring my gear up here, is I said I want to get a pastor in.
Come on, we can have that spiritual conversation,
dude. See, and I would love for my listeners to hear from you. You know what I mean? And a way fresher perspective, and tell us how you see the world and what we can do to be better people in it. Seriously.
Yeah, come on, that's great. That's
and
great.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, you know, every time okay, here's my rules on self-deception. Every time you have to live your life in defending yourself and your actions and your words, if you're constantly defending yourself, or if you're justifying your behavior all the time, like, well, I did it because.
Yes.
Okay. Or if every time somebody calls you out, you make an enemy, that means that you're actually vilifying other people. You're reading their minds, or you're saying that they're evil.
Yes.
Because that you actually are the one who's deceived.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Maybe we sit down and drop some bombs on some people.
I like it already.
So, yeah, I think that there's a season right now for voices like yours, and even some of the really.
You too, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah,
seriously.
So there's a place for some of these voices to come out right now to really say, you know, right now we don't need to be. You don't have to be, you know, either Black Lives Matter or MAGA.
Yeah.
You know, there's real issues that we can actually partner on and help each other out, but the foundations of that have to be the same. And until we figure that out, we're just button heads.
Exactly. We're roller skating. We're all slipping around, trying to figure it out. And man, 100. We definitely need to come to that happy medium. Like we need to get on that.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you.
Man, thank you
so much,
thank
man.
you. I appreciate
awesome.
you.
We're going to do the COVID-19 handshake right there.
Okay? we were
social distance.
Out, you know what I mean? It's probably about 5.5 feet. You know, long. We have long arms.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Man, thank you so much. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, man.
Had a great time. I'd like to come back. I'd like to have you on mine too.
Yeah, cool.
Seriously.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, man. And that's it. We're done.
All right.
Cool. All right.
That was rad. I like